Hi, everybody. Carl the Prado, A to Z Business IT. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to share with you in a few short minutes some of the challenges that are coming up as far as ways insurance companies are looking at, and when I say not your agents, but underwriters and also claims adjusters are looking at reasons not to pay the full amount on cyber insurance policies. And one of them we talked about really quickly was if your computers or software is out of date. And so let me talk about that quickly. Let me talk about that first, and then we'll go into some other issues that can be there, and some of the things that you should be doing to protect yourself. So right now, Chubb, which is pretty much the number one cyber insurance carrier in the United States, one of the top ones, and what they have now is part of their policies is that if you have an unpatched machine or unsupported software and it's on your system and it's gone, let's work with unpatched software. And it's not a minor update, but what we call something that requires it's a security update. And you allow it to go over 45 days. We're going to use the example of $1 million policy. Like you have $1 million cyber insurance claim policy that will pay out the maximum face value of the policy at $1 million. On day 46 of having that one machine that's in your system unpatched, at Chubb's discretion, they can decide to pay only $750,000 of that $1 million face value policy. And then it proceeds to prorate over the course of a year from the $750,000 to zero. Now, I don't know if your policy is doing that, and this is something you can always talk to your broker about. But one of the things to keep in mind is that as Chubb does, so does the rest of the world, because Chubb is one of the big leaders that are out there. So we are seeing, though, a number of claims that are no longer being denied outside of Chubb. We'll take Travelers Insurance. Travelers Insurance had a pretty big claim in 2023. A company out of Illinois proceeded to buy a policy for a couple $1 million face value for cyber insurance, and part of that agreement was that when they said in their as they were onboarding is, do you have MFA, which is multi-factor authentication? The client said yes. They didn't have MFA on one of the servers, and that server was the one that got breached. And because of that being breached, Travelers decided to drop them as a client and not pay the claim. The company did go to court, and they put the case in May, and by July the case was dismissed. They had decided to withdraw the claim against Travelers. So Travelers had, and that was they put in a $1.5 million claim for this, and they basically said no, we're not, So that was the end of that. So what's driving the costs of cyber insurance policies? And this really gets down to the heart of why you're seeing some of these behaviors going on that you can say aren't always benefiting the customer to the best of their ability. Well, in 2023, the average collection of premiums that all U.S. insurance companies collected, reported, as far as cyber insurance policies were concerned, was a little over between $7 and $9 billion roughly. What they paid out in that same year was a little right around $25 billion, give or take. Well, you can't run a business where you are losing three to four times the amount that you're collecting. It's just not going to work. And so companies, when in insurance, there's only a few things that they can do to change that. One of them is not everybody gets coverage. They make coverage harder to get. Your forms go from one-page questionnaires to 10-page questionnaires. And if anything's off on those questionnaires, if you need to put a claim in, it can give them grounds for either reduced claim or no claim. Deductibles, meaning, how much they're going to deduct against the policy before you have to pay, before the insurance company will pay. They've gone from, a couple of, $5,000, I'm hearing now $250,000 on this, on policies. It ranges. So you're going to see an increase in deductibles. You're also going to see an increase in premiums. And you're just going to see companies that just can't get cyber insurance because they're just not considered a safe risk. So we're starting to see, large companies are having data breaches and what that does for you. I mean, United Healthcare is an extreme example of stuff that has gone wrong. They've said about $2.9 billion was lost from United as far as the total cost. It's something like United Healthcare, for those that don't know, they process, I think it's 1 in 2, 1 in 3 claims of all over the country to go in there. And so when they were breached, it was a massive attack. And it's been in the news, unfortunately, because some of the things that have happened, even in the management team, which are unspeakable. But I've also met other people who work in electronic medical records who take their cybersecurity very seriously, and they've looked at this as now a market advantage to go into those, into those firms, into those billing agencies, and say, hey, we're gonna make sure you're absolutely secure and demonstrate that. Really excited to see that. But so what you're looking at is they've taken cybersecurity and they've turned that into an asset. Reputational damage. This is something that goes on where it can really erode customer trust. We see this right now. The Wakes Group, Wakes Law Group, WACKS, they had a breach in April of last year. They're an M&A firm, not an M&A. They're a trust and estates law firm. They're about 6 attorneys, small trust and estates, and they had about 100 records stolen that were breached, that were lost and stolen. Their clients' information ended up on the dark web. And so what they offered to their clients was 1 year cybersecurity monitoring for them for their troubles. And what their clients did, which is one of the worst things that can happen with a relationship with a client, any relationship, is you go from having a great relationship to that other person now is in an adversarial relationship with you. And they hired another law firm to represent them. And they proceeded to put against the Wakes Group a $5 million lawsuit. And so if you go to the Wakes Group now, after you get through their ad, if you Google Wakes Law Group of Wyckoff, Whippany, New Jersey, you'll see that just below the information about, trust us and everything else is the fact that they're in a breach. And you see the next 5 or 6 articles just below the fold talking about that. So, that really starts to affect, the confidence you have with your clients as far as that's concerned. So I'm just going to go into what are some of the things that you can do to protect yourself and make sure that your insurance is good. And not only that your insurance is good, but that you're taking the care of your clients, because your clients do take care of you. One of those things is to make sure that you're updating your software regularly, and your computers. What I mean, well, so computers run software. So if you need to make sure that they're constantly patched, not just from their operating systems such as Windows and Mac OS or whatever the new next Linux operating system is. And before I even go into why you do that, that you do it. Why do you do it? Well, a lot of security updates are being added constantly in those patches to protect against vulnerabilities or add new security. Matter of fact, Microsoft Edge yesterday just announced that they've now updated their browser to prevent from scareware. What is scareware? Well, scareware is you click on a link. It could be something that your grandparents, usually it's AOL or something like that. They have those news feeds that they're still addicted to. They love them. They click on that link, and all of a sudden a pop-up comes up that says warning, warning, danger, danger. And it's designed so that they make a phone call and they proceed to call somebody. And on the other side, there's really it's not support, it's actually the scammers themselves. And they talk them into letting them into their computers, and they either turn the computer into a bot, and that might be the only thing that they do. And on some of the worst sides, they go in and they steal their finances and everything. So these are the things that they are starting to upgrade on a constant basis, and you need to check that. And you really need to do that every day. You want to make sure your software is licensed. It's not, open source is great if it's a personal thing. You can go ahead and update it. But open source, and we're going to talk about this next week in our AI briefing. You're depending on other people updating. If you're running a business, and especially if you have a lot of stuff to protect, you should be running licensed software, because with that license, with that paid agreement, you are getting guarantees, SLAs, that they're going to patch it for vulnerabilities and so forth. And so, one of the classic ones that we see a lot is we'll see businesses that are still running old versions of QuickBooks. They haven't upgraded to the latest version of QuickBooks, and that puts their businesses at risk because they're just not supporting it. So it's the same thing if you're running like an unlicensed version of Adobe Premiere or something like that. These are examples of stuff that can happen. So you want to do that. You also want to perform daily security checks that are there and do that. So if you can't do that, or you want some help, or you want us to review that, feel free to reach out to us. We'll go in and within a day, we can really solve some of these problems. We can do regular security checks for you. We'll make sure your software is properly upgraded and you get all the licensing validation done here. And so, you can give us a call at 917-715-7100. I will put in the chat our contact information as far as if you want to just book a call. Happy to do that. We will also send this out as a recording for everybody. So again, thank you for your time. And next week, just as a little spoiler, we're going to be talking about AI and how that can help your business and some of the challenges that are going on. But for today, I wanted to thank you again. You guys have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.